Huobi, Bitfinex and other exchanges allegedly linked to laundering mixing of bitcoins. Now, I think this is a very interesting set of articles, and I want to also show you why it's very important that we track exchanges and make them accountable for what decisions they're doing and so on. So first of all, it starts with a whale alert tweet. So at whale alert is a Twitter account which you can subscribe to on Twitter, and it alerts you when large amount of cryptocurrency is being sent from one address to another, especially exchange addresses, and hopefully might help you reduce the risk of Bitcoin being dumped on you. But it's just an information, and it's interesting to see, but it doesn't mean that something bad is going to happen. Now, back to the topic. First of all, it started with this whale alert, the signal came 2000 BTC and so on. So apart from that, it doesn't look too suspicious. And Crypto Medication, he started a tweet story, and it starts with, this thread contains a number of mind-breaking revelations that most in this space probably don't want to face or can't accept. You've been warned. So of course, in this space, we always have to be careful about fear, uncertainty, denial, and it's important to take things at face value and to make sure that you read everything and so on. So I think this is interesting just to have the whole picture and see what might be possibly going on behind the scenes, but it's not, this video is not meant to make you scared about crypto crashing in the next few weeks and so on. Just information. Now, second part, when we say Bitfinex deposit address, that means that the address belongs to a customer at the exchange. The pictures attached to this tweet show information about the cluster where these funds came from. Again, using the Crystal Block Explorer function. So here we've got different transactions and so on, and here we've got a mixing service, and 0.01% of 186,416 BTC were moved to a trusted exchange. 0.092% were online wallets, and 44.9% are not defined. And here's also the risk score, and the risk score here for the mixing service is very red indeed. Now, Bitfinex receptions and deposits are nearly even here. However, not deposit to Bitfinex is only a few hundred Bitcoin. Same with the second identity on here, both boxed in blue. So here we've got the received BTC, Bitfinex wallet, and this is unknown wallet. However, I think this one is supposed to be a Huobi wallet, and these are the clusters which we will be talking about in red. So I'm going to look at the first cluster box in red in that tweet above. What's apparent is that Huobi sent the mass majority of these cluster funds. However, that interaction ceased July 2017, nearly 2 years ago. Last transaction period was July 21st, 2017. And here we've got trusted exchange, and the 99,000 BTC received, 99,000 sent, 4% is to a trusted exchange, 95% is not defined. In a somewhat lengthy rabbit hole, I saw the funds being commingled, sent back and forth between Huobi and Bitfinex, which is quite suspicious. And then it eventually led to this wallet, starting with 17HF5, and it has 36,000 BTC parked in it. And this is the wallet in question. Since it was a dead end, I decided to check the OP return data of this address to see if any messages have been sent. And it's quite interesting. The text is "people help," which is quite cryptic. We don't really know what it means. And the OP return, since it was dead end, decided to check the OP return, and this is the interesting message: "People help." Now, what could that mean? What's interesting here is that this address sent 4 transactions total, but only sent "people help" in one of them. Date was March 30th, 2019. The addresses are also very particular and specific. So he continues and looks up these addresses. The first thing that I wanted to do is check the origin of these funds, since the message was sent March 31st, the relevant transaction. And so the thing is, here we see you can visualize where the transaction could be: a medium connection with trusted exchange, a medium connection with darknet marketplaces. So that's very suspicious. And that's one final balance from one address. Here's the rating for that transaction to the please help. The rating basically means there are some addresses that are linked to, for example, mixing services or darknet marketplaces, and those ratings are going to fall into the unsecure addresses, and that's how you can define, okay, so and so many transactions came from maybe darknet marketplace. So here you've got Hydra marketplace, Ryrex, Hydra marketplace. Here's the rating for the transactions to the please help address. It's not to be 100% risk because several dark web exchange transactions are included. Since these amounts are also minimal, I'm going to go ahead and check. So these are very, very small amounts that are being sent, but it's quite interesting nonetheless. There's no OP return data for that address, but I can see where the funds came from. So now I'm going to just chase this to the source. It leads to me to an interesting cluster. You can find us here. Let's open this cluster in a new, and strong connection with Hydra again. So here we've got 5,000 BTC received, sent 8 BTC, Hydra marketplace. Very interesting. And this is the cluster which we're just talking about, the wallet, the wallet address. Now let's get back. So I did some research on addresses in this cluster, and I found some interesting results. It's obviously attached to fraud, but I tracked it down. So here this image is basically a user talking about one user that scammed him, called Zach Davy, and he's tracking this address. And this is the address that is included in the big cluster that I just saw before. Some more relevant links. And in addition, this user was selling Apple Enterprise accounts. Obviously, as we can see from the screenshots, it was all a scam. Sorry. This is yet another situation where if there's any compliance teams, they should seek to be closing off these accounts as soon as possible. One thing I think is quite strange is that these accounts are not flagged as being nefarious, since they're coming from darknet marketplaces, and the exchange, trusted exchange, is here, the entity Huobi, Bitfinex, Bitfinex. This is yet another situation where if there are any compliance team, they should seek to be closing off these accounts. So here there are different trusted exchanges, and it's quite interesting that their security and compliance team has not put up any red flags. So you guys know me though, I can stop there. I had to see where the funds went from that cluster. I was just surprised where the person was selling Huobi, KYC accounts and Apple Enterprise accounts, and they all end up a Huobi address, then get mixed up by Huobi, which is suspicious. And here there's a picture with all the transactions leading up to Huobi. Side note, these Huobi addresses that I showed above all received thousands of bitcoins through countless transaction sources, all obfuscated, but all ones I tracked back are from darknet web scam fraud sources. That doesn't sound very good. There are 0 customers involved in any of these transactions at this point. That much is obvious. These addresses are not functioning as customer deposit addresses. That's guaranteed. Funds go to Binance, OKX, Polynet, BTCbox.com. By far, OKX is the most frequent recipient of funds from these Huobi-controlled addresses. Please keep in mind that these are not deposit addresses. These are addresses where Huobi is literally mixing some funds. This is also an interesting address. This has 1 million BTC total. Yes, 1 million BTC, which is a massive amount on BTC. and all send straight to the Bitfinex hot wallet. So it's not only Huobi involved, also Bitfinex seems to have their feet in this as well. There's no way for me to show you all these funds are being commingled. I'd have to make a video. Yeah, they're all through deposit addresses and so on. So this does seem very suspicious indeed, and I'm very grateful that there are some cryptocurrency enthusiasts that track the sources and so on of these funds. And I also think this is very important, that the exchanges can be held accountable for mixing and for nefarious activity, because basically, even though they might be trying to hide their actions, or if it is nefarious actions, they might be trying to hide it, but like we all know, transactions can be tracked, coins can be tracked on different blockchains. Monero is a different story, but BTC and other cryptocurrencies can be tracked, and you can track the receiving address, the output data, and so on. So I think it's very important that this accountability can be had in the blockchain space. Since exchanges have so much power, I think it's important that they can also be tracked to a certain extent, and some things be brought to the light, especially if we're talking about mixing, money laundering, and so on. Now let's get back to here's a summary more or less of what I was just talking about before, and it's quite interesting. So here's some more information. So the Twitter user address is linked to these clusters were attached to fraud, and some user was selling accounts at Coinbase, Huobi, Bitfinex, Binance, KYC, so fully accredited accounts. The Twitter user also urged the compliance teams of the respective exchanges to close these flagged accounts, and it's quite interesting that that has not happened yet. The user also added that all the funds linked to darknet marketplaces were later deposited in Huobi exchange, which according to the user gets mixed by Huobi. And I think if we want to go more mainstream and so on, then such things should not be possible and should not happen. Additionally, there are 0 customers involved in any of these transactions at this point. That much is obvious. These addresses are not functioning as customer deposits. As stated before, Binance, Coinbase, Bitfinex, Huobi, Bittrex, Coinbase, Bitbank, Bitfum, OKEx are all pals and friends in this laundering scheme together. And that's if you I'm at the moment, I can't really imagine any other scenario apart from laundering. But yeah, it would be interesting to see more information on that, and maybe hopefully a stance from either one of these exchanges on what their arguments are against the fact that this might be a laundering scheme, since they mix and mash funds and operate in a symbiotic fashion, replenishing stores when necessary. In this case, Huobi's hands are dripping guilty, if there's such a thing as catching someone red-handed. So this is very interesting, and I hope you also found this interesting, especially since in the financial world, looking at banks, this is nothing new. Banks have been laundering money since ages. However, with banks, it's very difficult to track and to see what's actually happening behind the scenes. And I think this is very important in the blockchain space, that we are able to track what blockchain exchanges are doing and even hold them accountable when things go south. Because in the end, it's our funds that's on these exchanges, and the more nefarious actions that they're doing, then the less credibility they will have towards political institutions and so on. And there were few arguments that have been popping up countless times in the last months, years, and so on, that cryptocurrency is mainly used for money laundering, for criminal activities, and so on. So I think it's very important that we manage to track and hold these exchanges accountable. I think it's a great work that how is it called again? Yeah, Crypto Medication did. Thank him a lot for his effort and bringing this to the light. So hope you found this video interesting, and catch you on the next one. Bye bye.